Everyone, welcome back to Girl Take Note, a podcast where we dive deep into stories, strategies, and real talk for ambitious women who are ready to break the mold and embrace your dreams and redefine success on your own terms. I am Shaunie Sanders, and today we are diving into something that's close to my heart and honestly a constant challenge for me as well, and that's letting go. Now, if you're anything like me, giving up control can feel like the hardest thing to do. And I'm the type who likes to plan, have a clear idea of what's going on and when it's going to happen, right? And exactly how it's all going to go down. And if life kind of veers off that carefully laid off path, I'm not always the most graceful about adapting. Let me just be honest here. But what I've learned over the years, especially as I move from the traditional 9-to-5 grind into entrepreneurship, is that holding on too tightly can actually hold us back from growth and success we're striving for. So today, I'm going to share some lessons from my own journey in letting go and surprising growth that followed when I finally took my hands off the wheel. This is Girl Take Note, a podcast for women who are looking to turn their dreams into reality. Because I think that's what needs to happen, is that we're in a place where, especially entrepreneurs, we try to control every aspect of what's going on, of what's happening, right? But sometimes we need to know how to let go. And that's really hard for us to do. I had conversations with entrepreneurs past week and interviews, that is, and letting go, especially when in times of growth, especially in times of scaling, can be one of the hardest things that you can do. But I think this conversation today will kind of just give us more insight on how to do it and when we can see the growth and how much more we can do when we do let go. So let's start with a question. Why do we feel the need to control everything? And that's a big question, right? And I want you guys to sit with that question for a minute and kind of ponder it, right? For me, I can tell you that I realized that holding on tightly to control is often a result of fear. Fear of unknown, fear of failure, fear of not being good enough, which I know a lot of us struggle with. So if I keep a tight grip on every aspect of business or my life, it feels like I'm minimizing the chances of things going wrong. That's what it feels like. It's like if I hold on to it tight, right? If I control every piece of it, nothing is going to go wrong. It's going to be not as wrong as it could be if someone else was doing it. But here's the thing. I'm also minimizing the chances of things working out right. I don't know if you felt this way, but it's almost as if we're conditioned to believe that the more control we have, the safer we'll be. And I think that's true for a lot of us because we feel like if I'm able to get control of the situation, I can work things out. I can handle things better. But is it that really true? Is it really true? Over time, I've come to see that trying to control everything is like putting a lid on a pot of boiling water. Eventually, the pressure builds and you risk an explosion. And for us as entrepreneurs, as dreamers, and as women pushing for more, that pressure can keep us from making bold moves and taking the risks we need to reach our goals. And so I think we really need to ask ourselves that question. Why do we feel the need to control everything? It's a real question. And I feel like some of it could also be just generational, right? Traditional learning, right? That we get from seeing our mothers. I grew up with a single mother, and my mother, I don't want to say she was controlling, but being a woman and being a mother of 12 kids, you had to have some type of control over things or things would get chaotic, right? And so I think I saw my mom control things. And so you emulate what you see. And so I think that's where that comes from. For me, I think it comes from more deep rooted places than just wanting to control something. Even in relationships, people will tell you, oh, you're too controlling or you're this or that. And a lot of that you have to sit and say, where does that come from? What exactly am I trying to control here? And really at the end of the day, we're trying to control the outcome. That's what we're trying to control. We're trying to control the outcome because we want it to work out for us. That's what we do in relationships. And we're not going to get into that because this is not even a type of podcast because we're going a whole tangent with that. But that's what people do in relationships. We try to control situations because we want to control the outcome and we want the outcome to work for us. So that's really what that is. So when you ask yourself the question, make sure you do the deep thinking. Don't just make it a surface answer. Really understand why you feel the need to control. Make sure you really do that. So, how did I begin letting go? Honestly, it started with small steps. I began to loosen my grip on certain aspects of my business, especially in areas where I knew I didn't have to have all the answers. For example, when I first launched this podcast, I tried to manage every little detail, content, audio editing, social media, the works. I'll sit there, listen to every second of my recorded episodes, nitpicking and re-editing because I want it to be perfect. We have that perfectionism thing going on. But I realized I was driving myself into burnout and obsession with perfection, as perfection was stealing my joy for podcasting. So I made a choice to bring on help and to trust the process. And let me tell you, that trust transformed everything for me. Not only did my workload lighten, but also I found myself becoming more open to creative ideas and new approaches. And as a result, the podcast began to grow in ways I hadn't even anticipated. And that's what's so important, because I knew I was beginning to feel burnout with trying to do everything. And because there's people who are so good at certain things like audio editing and video editing, I don't have to I don't have to be the perfect person to do it. I can let those aspects of my business go and give that to someone else to do because they're just better at it. I'm not good at every little thing, right? I'm not here saying I'm the perfect person that can do everything when it comes to the podcast. No, I need help. I need help. I need help, one, because I get inundated with guests. And for me, I really want to focus on my guests. I want to focus on, the research of my guests, getting to know my guests and making sure I'm well prepared for my interview. So that means letting go on the part where I don't have to be the one posting on social media all the time. I don't have to be the one creating everything. I don't have to be the one editing everything. Someone else can handle those things. And that's hard to do, especially when we're like, this is my baby. I created this thing and I know how it works. I know how she vibes and she thrives. And so I'm like, it's hard to give that up. But when I did it, I just felt so much more free. I felt so much more free to focus on the bigger things versus the day-to-day little things that I really didn't have to do. And it's just so much more freeing. And I think an important point here is that letting go doesn't mean giving up control entirely. It's more about recognizing that while we can put in the effort, we can't control every outcome. We just can't. And when I started to shift my mindset from needing certainty to allowing flexibility, I discovered that the things I feared the most, like failing or making mistakes, became less daunting. Instead, they turn into opportunities to learn and adapt. And a great example from my life was when I decided to shift focus in my content and try new topics that were outside of my comfort zone. I worried that changing things up might confuse my audience or that they wouldn't resonate with the new direction. So when I started doing these solo episodes, I really didn't know how my audience was going to take it. I didn't know how you guys were going to take it because I wanted to make these episodes a little bit more personal, right? Not just all about entrepreneurship, but more so about my experience, my journey, and what I'm going through, how I'm feeling. But what actually happened was the exact opposite. My audience responded positively because they saw me growing and evolving, and that inspired me to do the same. So I think it's important to understand that we have to learn how to adapt. We have to learn how to let go of things. We don't need to have control over every aspect of our life, of our husband, children, wives, whatever it may be, of our business. We can let certain things go and still thrive. And I think that's okay, because there's an unexpected growth, right? When we let go. So let's talk about the unexpected growth. When I let go of the reins and trusted the process, it created space for new opportunities that I don't think I could have predicted, right? I found that surrendering the journey, right? Surrendering to the journey. That's what this is all about. This is about the journey. And so I found that when I surrendered to the journey and letting things unfold naturally, I was able to tap into growth and success that felt aligned with who I am rather than making it feel like it was forced. And I think that is so important when, especially in this day and age, in this society where we don't really know what's going to happen with this new administration that coming into office, is being able to align the things that you want, right? That you want to do and align yourself properly so you can set yourself up for the success you want. And one example is the partnerships I developed for this podcast. I was actively seeking them out, but because I was more open and less in my head about controlling every aspect of my brand, these connections came to me in organic, meaningful ways. I've had the privilege of collaborating with people and brands who align with my values, which has only amplified the impact of Girl Take Note, which is really what I want. So if you're listening and you're struggling with the idea of letting go, I want to remind you that sometimes the things we want most come when we step back. Growth, success, meaningful connections, they often appear when we stop pushing so hard and start allowing. That's kind of really what we need to do. And then it becomes the pressure doesn't become so much on you. The pressure for the need to succeed, the pressure for the need to grow, to be able to see the growth, be able to see everything that you're doing. I feel like I relieved so much stress in my life when I decided to let go of certain things. And so I want to encourage you guys to really practice letting go. Really try to put that to daily practice. It's not something that's going to happen for you overnight, right? It's just not going to happen overnight. Like, we're not going to be like, okay, I'm going to let go of everything and wake up and it's all better. It's a process. It's a learning process. Everything doesn't happen overnight. You have to take time and you have to build. But when you begin to let go, you begin to feel so much better. You begin to feel the relief. The tension is not as bad anymore. Now, before we wrap up, I want to leave you with a few practical tips that help me let go of control and trust, right? So the first is set an intention, but release the outcome. And I'm going to say that again. Set an intention, but release the outcome. It's okay to have a vision and set goals, but try not to fixate on exactly how everything should play out. Give your best effort and then allow things to unfold naturally. That's the best thing you can do. Set your goals, set your intentions, but let things unfold naturally. Don't try to control how the outcome is. Just allow it to happen naturally and you'll see how much better you are for it. Number 2, I want you to be open to collaboration. Bringing others into your journey can be such a freeing experience. You don't have to do it all. In fact, when you open up to others, they bring fresh ideas and perspective that you might not even have considered. So always be open to collaborations, to partnerships that really serve you now. Every partnership is not good partnerships. Every collaboration is not good collaborations. Make sure you be careful about who you collaborate with, but it can open up new ideas and fresh perspectives. And when I partner with people and collaborate with people and they bring these different ideas to me that I wasn't even thinking about, I think it's so refreshing for that. So make sure you be open. And number 3, I want you to reflect, but don't overanalyze. Reflecting on your process is an essential part, but don't get stuck in overthinking. Embrace what you've learned and use it as a stepping stone, not as a reason to hold yourself back. Because that's what we'll do. We'll see something that we did and be like, okay, I'm not doing that. And we won't move forward. No, look at it as a stepping stone to success. Do not let it hold you back. 4, I want you to practice gratitude. When you find yourself wanting to control every little thing, take a moment to focus on what's going on. Gratitude can remind us of the abundance that's already present in our lives and ease the need for control. 5, I want you to trust yourself. Ultimately, letting go is about trusting yourself. That's really what it's about. Letting go is about trusting yourself, trusting your decisions, trusting your ideas, trusting your opportunities, right? It's about believing that you are equipped to handle whatever comes your way, even if it doesn't look the way you planned. So those are 5 tips to help you let go. And you can really start putting those into practice. And as I said, it's not going to happen overnight. And I don't want you guys to think it is. It's not going to happen overnight, right? But if you put them into practice, they can begin to take root in your life. And little by little, you can take small steps to letting go. That's exactly what I want you guys to do. It's something that I still do to this day, because when you let go, sometimes you still feel like, I feel the need to do this. But I remind myself that These people are here for a reason. They're good at what they do, and you don't have to have every little thing in your hand. And it gives me time to spend time with family and friends and just be able to do more things that I want to do for myself. So, all right, ladies, that's all I have for you today. This was a quick episode, and I hope this episode has resonated with you and maybe even inspired you to loosen your grip a little and let life surprise you. Remember, you are capable of incredible things, and sometimes those things show up when we least expect them. So I want to thank you so much for tuning in to this episode of Girl Take Note, as I'm so grateful for you guys. And when you listen to each episode, if you enjoyed today's conversation, please consider leaving a review, because that really helps us get out to other people, or sharing this episode with a friend. And if you're ready to dive deeper, follow along for more tips and stories and inspiration on the journey to crafting the life you truly want. Until next time, keep pushing forward, trust your process, and remember, sometimes letting go is exactly what you need to grow. I'll talk to you guys in the next episode.